Welcome to the Rebuilt Podcast. I'm your host, Jason Sykes. Each week, I sit down with people who have faced life's toughest challenges and come out victorious, along with mental health experts, coaches, and leaders. We explore powerful stories of transformation, faith, and practical strategies for building a life of purpose and resilience. This is the Rebuilt Podcast. What's up, everybody? My name is Jason, and welcome to the Rebuilt Podcast. Today's episode, my guest was Tim Holloway, and Tim shared his testimony, and I'm telling you, it was one of the most remarkable stories I have ever had. The amount of stuff that he had to overcome to become the man God called him to be is amazing. This is going to be an extremely impactful episode, and I'm excited for you to listen to it. So let's go check it out. Hey, Tim. How are you, man?
I'm good, brother. Thanks for the opportunity to be here. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, I had a great time on your podcast, so I figured I would return the favor.
Appreciate that, man. Yeah, it just dropped today, and super stoked about that.
Yes, sir. Well, that's not the only reason I wanted you on my show, though, because you have quite a story, and I think that my listeners would really benefit from that. So just kind of tell us who you are, just introduce yourself, and we'll just go from there.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, my name is Tim Holloway. I got two passions. Actually, I probably got a lot more passions than that, but two passionate projects that I'm engaged in, and that's, getting men to step up and begin to create on social media and to let their voice be known. And then also to help whatever way I can inside of the healing journey that men are on, to help them, to give them tools and resources, point them to the right direction on how they can rebuild their life. And so your show fits perfectly with with that genre. So say beyond that, husband, father, child of God. I feel, my identity in Christ is paramount, in discovering who I am and what I have in Him. I think is my goal every day, to step into that identity and to embody that. So that's me in a nutshell.
Yes, sir. That's great, man. So take us back a little bit. Just tell me a little bit of your past story, because you weren't always this person. You had some struggles that you had to overcome. So take us back. Tell us a little bit about that and how you got where you are.
Sure. So my childhood was filled with a lot of trauma. The first 10 years were absolute chaos and devastation. I was born of a conjugal visit. My dad was in prison by the time I was born. He was already with another woman. So my dad wasn't really in the picture. He spent most of his life in prison, and some of the worstest in California. I mean, you name them, from San Quentin to Folsom to all the big ones. He was a prison gangster, and connected to the Aryan Brotherhood and stuff like that. So you can kind of get a picture of what that looks like. Big, larger than life, tattooed from head to, just beast, and, shot collar and all that stuff. But anyways, my life with my mother was really total chaos. And to give a brief kind of description, before I was born, that one of her boyfriends murdered my sister and tortured my brother, and the government came in and took him away. And she was coming off that trauma, and then was gravitating to all of the men that were very, very similar, and that is dark past, violent. my dad being one of them. And so I was raised in an environment where my mother's addicted to heroin, and she's a prostitute. And so all of us kids are brought up one after another um, in this chaotic, crazy drug house environment. And a lot of prostitution, a lot of violence. We've seen so many things at a very young age, from the excessive paranoia from tweaking, digging in the skin and digging through your poop and running from things that aren't there, and trips in the car that last all night long, running for nothing. Like, you name it, as far as the paranoid and schizophrenia, all of us kids experienced just very, very crazy, chaotic stuff. Murder in our backyard, slit from throat to throat, pets hung by their tails, beat, like just stuff that just absolutely terrible, man. And
Well,
so that was the first 10 years of my life. My grandmother was my saving grace. So my grandmother would come pick me up on the weekends and take me to her house, which is my father's mom.
mhm.
And so she was modeling God and Jesus to me. And she was the only person in my life that really loved me. So I got to get away on the weekends. Yeah, I got vacation from all the pain and the trauma. And yeah, so some of my brothers got it a little bit worse than I did, because they were there for some things that I missed. And at any rate, I got taken away by the government. All of us did. So I got 5 brothers and sisters at this time. And after the murder in our house, CPS started showing up like all the time. And so they took us away eventually. And we all got scattered to different relatives, each brother and sister to a different relative. And that was at 10 years old. I went to live with my grandmother, and she put me in tough love counseling, and she enrolled me in Christian school,
Yeah,
and started to they gave me a foundation that I was going to need at a later date. I was going to
definitely.
need the lessons that I learned from there. And a key to defining moment in that is I went to wake her up at 13, and she didn't wake up, man. And
Ah,
my world just sunk. Like, I felt like everything was just gone, and I was so lost. I pinpoint that as when the addiction got worse. I was already doing drugs at that age, which is
mhm.
absolutely insane to think about. Um, but that's when, like, there was no restraint. Uh, Before, there was a little bit of restraint, and I was managing and coping well. But after her death, there was really no restraint. I was high all the time. There wasn't a time that I was not high, and if I wasn't high, I was looking on how I could get high and what I could steal to get high, and and so I got connected with the drug dealer, which was a female down the street, and moved in with the 35-year-old female, and started running drugs to different locations and stuff. So 13 years old, little drug meal, addicted to meth by that time. And my life consisted of just dropping stuff off, picking stuff up. That was pretty much my life.
Man, just
The
at, I'm just gonna
Go
say
ahead.
something at this point. First off, that is some heavy stuff, man. I appreciate you sharing that. First off, to be vulnerable with us, but I need to acknowledge that just that part of your story from what 13, 14, Man, that is some heavy stuff. I cannot even imagine what that must have felt like. Knowing the end result, it makes me even more excited for the end because I know what happens. But anyway, I just felt like I needed to stop you for just a second because I am sure that there are
Thank
people
you.
out there that can relate to that. And I just wanted to
Sure.
enforce how, as you're telling your story, you're not just saying words, you're actually telling emotions, you're actually telling what happened to you. And there are people that can relate to that. So thank you for that. And just wanted to acknowledge that, man.
Thank you. Thank you. So the outcome of that is they really didn't have a lot of diagnosis going on back then. And so what I was experiencing was night terrors. Um, and then kind of in the night was always like an audible voice of my stepfather calling my name. And so I was at nights was uh, this this prolonged fear of him being present and him being there. And so that led to me being down the street and sleepwalking and waking up at different locations and all kinds of different things. We would probably classify that probably as PTSD now, where had just like reoccurring things that brought back the same emotions from a past
Mhm.
experience, and
Right.
so that followed me right into my drug use, and you can imagine, on top of the meth and staying up for days, and so the trauma just continued. Like I'd find myself curled up in a little ball crying, or I'd find myself hanging on to a stop sign thinking that gravity and I was going to be sucked up, or me convincing myself that something happened when it didn't, and experiencing all the emotions of that happening, like my mother dying, or something happening, and all of it's fantasy.
Yeah.
During that time, it's very dark spiritual stuff going on, as far as voices and paranoia, and feeling like there was an entity or something after me all the time. And so I was running from place to place in full on sprints sometimes, and just full on from morning to night. Some days would be running from something.
Wow.
Yeah. So uh, I stumbled into church. I was high as a kite on meth. And this girl that I was with, she was feeling some sort of conviction. She's like, "Hey, I want to go to church tomorrow." And I'm like, "Yeah, okay," and so the next morning I thought she forgot. And so we ended up going into this hole in the ground place, and stumbled in there, and the preacher's talking to me the whole time. And
Hey,
by
I'm
the time
curious. I'm curious. So, how did you pick this church?
she did.
She just randomly picked one, huh?
Yeah, she like
That's funny.
she's feeling conviction, and she was having a hard time in her life, so I can get
Sure.
why. Yeah, and so there we go, and I got out of there as quick as possible, man. I was like, just like feeling it, and I'm like, "Whew, I'm gone." And so, probably like a month later, I stumbled back in there after an overdose, and yeah, I gave my life to Christ, and
Amen.
I had an
Awesome.
experience with him before I went in. So during the overdose, to describe it for people that don't know, but on meth, it's like everything just goes like shuts down and goes hyper focused, and you can't hear anything but your own heartbeat, because it's just like bam, 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 just thumping, and your ears are just thumping along with it, and you get like this tunnel vision where everything just shrinks to like right here, and then uh, my buddy's talking, but there's no like hearing or comprehending what's, like, you're just like grabbing and just like It's like you're on one. And
Uh,
anyways, I'm hearing myself and I'm cussing at God. And I'm telling him, like, getting all this darkness and all this stuff out. And I'm telling him what I think about him and this, that, and the other thing. And after I'm done, my buddy drops me off because he's like, this dude, like, I ain't getting caught with this dude. Like, if he's really overdosing, like, I ain't going to jail tonight. So he drops me off, and my spooky little self sat on this hammock all day and didn't move, just processing God
hmm.
and how I was in the whole moment of going into eternity like that with utter hatred and defiance, towards your maker. And it rocked my world, man. And something changed in me that day where I didn't want to, I didn't want to do this anymore.
Now, how
And
old were you
the
at
way
that
that I
time?
was living, I was 16, 17 years old.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm like, man, I don't want to do this anymore. And something within me shifted. And I pinpoint that moment because I wanted to change, and I wanted to heal from my pain. And but where before I couldn't really pinpoint positive desires before
Hmm.
that point. I was just getting while the getting is good, and it's all about me, my pleasure, my comfort, and all that stuff. So yeah, God got a hold of my heart before I even stepped into church. And then so when I stepped into church, I was like, it was like a confirmation of what already happened. And yeah, so I gave my life to Christ, and it was a pretty neat experience,
You know,
man.
you said something interesting just now. You said God got a hold of your heart before you even went to church. And I think that that is
Yeah,
actually really profound statement because so many people think that, God has to find you, but it's not that way. God's already there. He's just waiting on you to move. And
sure.
I think if a lot of people knew that, it would really change their perspective on God. Um, people say, you know, I found Jesus. It's like I don't know if I really agree with that because Jesus is not needing to be found. You just need to
It's not
acknowledge
lost,
that
right?
he's there, man. Exactly, exactly. So
Yeah, yeah,
anyway, just a point I wanted to make. He's already there,
yeah.
man. You just gotta
What's
receive it.
what's what sealed the deal for me in that, and this once again, it's before I went to church. Like God was already like teaching me lessons, and
Hmm,
so I'm like wanting to do the right thing. I'm trying to navigate all the pitfalls because I'm living on the streets,
hmm,
and so I'm like navigating the pitfalls of the environment that I'm in. And just prior to this, like it's like overdose, meth lab, just like crazy life. And then I want to change. And I'm like, there ain't nothing around me change. I mean, like, how do I navigate this environment? And so, literally what you're talking about was like, I got, uh, I got in the wrong place at the wrong time with some stupid situation. And, I'm already like 3 weeks clean, which was a terrible experience.
hmm,
Cause I literally getting sick and running your body down to the ground. And it took me 3 weeks just to get kind of composure, be normal. But anyways, like how I'm gonna get out of this situation, man. I'm in a circle and I passed around the meth pipe. I did not intentionally put myself in there. I got caught slipping, and I was returning a bike that I borrowed and knocked on the door, and here I am in this situation, and so I'm like, God help me. And I like the pipe's going around. I'm opening my hand. I'm not opening it for the pipe. I'm opening it for Jesus. And I'm like, God, can you just help me right now? Like, I don't even know what to do. And the pipe came to me. I passed it to the guys. I got to bounce. And I never had the courage to say no to anything before in my life. I was It was yes to everything. And man, I left there and I was like praising God all the way to the house that these people were letting me stay at. I was just praising God all the way down to the house, man, which was like 4 blocks away, and I'm just filled with joy in the Spirit of God. And
It's awesome.
yeah, crazy experience.
So let's keep going a little bit. You're starting to get your life straightened out. God's talking to you at this point. What happens next?
So I got a mentor, man. Ironically,
Oh,
it was a cop. A cop took me into his house, and
right on.
so he was at the church that I was going to,
Okay.
and he would see me ride my bike, bopping in every week, and see the change that was going on in my life. He's like, "I'm investing in this kid." So, man, he'd take me out to Jack in the Box and eat some tacos, and he would talk to me about Jesus and discipleship, and we'd read the Bible. And the people that I was living with, they relapsed and started selling drugs again. And so I was in a very bad spot with what I was going to do, you know.
Mm.
And so I shared that with him, and he's like, "You got to get out of there." He goes, you can come live with me." And I'm like, "Really?" And I'm like, "Nah, that's okay."
Oh,
And then something happened that blew up, and then I called him on. I said, "Man, I need to place this." And so he let me stay, and ended up becoming like an adopted child. He had a couple other kids, and he was married, and, uh, and I learned what it was to be a man, because
mm.
my dad was an alpha male, but he was elite top dog of a street gang. Like he wasn't like a man really. He was a wounded soul that never really, you know, had a man himself, you know, having
Yeah.
his dad die so young and stuff. So yeah, I got discipled for 3 to 4 years, man. Got my life on track. Mentored me for 4 years, and then by the time I moved out, I had a career kind of job. I had an apartment lined up. I had it fully furnished with brand new furniture. I had a ride. I'm like, people from my family, we don't do these sort of things. And at any rate, like I
Do
got
you
my head
still?
screwed on straight.
That's awesome. Do you still talk to him?
I went to his funeral
Oh,
probably about 3 years ago, and I got to speak and tell people that story. And yeah, it was very very powerful, as you
I'm
can imagine,
I'm
from
sure it was.
at
He
a
was like,
funeral.
yeah. I'm sure he was like your father, wasn't he?
He was, yeah.
Yeah. Man, that
Yeah,
is
he stayed
powerful.
speaking into my life throughout that whole time, after that, even after I moved out. Yeah, he was always a source of strength and wisdom.
And
Yeah,
mentorship,
really
the
neat
power of
guy.
mentorship is so powerful. Um, I mean, you and I, we've talked about that before, about just the power of brotherhood, going through something with someone else, but to step it up even a scale, to have that mentorship, somebody who invests in you, cares what happens to you. I mean, that's amazing. Which obviously, that's a father's job, but we know that not everybody has that kind of a father. So the fact that this man, this cop, took in ownership of you, to say, is nothing short of just God's miracle, man. He had lined that up, and that's awesome.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. So throughout my life, there's been, I would say, like three, maybe four powerful men that God, I feel like the kind of hero's journey motif a little bit, and you meet your wise sensei, or,
Yeah.
throughout the process. And I could see, these different men. Um, I am where I am today because of godly men who decided, I'm really feeling this one. godly men who decided that was worth it.
Yes,
I don't know, man.
that's right, man.
Yeah.
And you are.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, you're a child of
Right.
God, bro.
Right.
That is great. It's
Yeah.
awesome. I love stories like that. So you you move out, you got your life together. Um you have a relationship at that point. When did you meet your wife?
Yeah. So I met her at that church. And
Oh, nice. Man, that little hole in the
yeah.
wall church did a lot for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
I went into my 20s with, I would say, ripple effects of the pain. And I didn't know, I really didn't know why I was doing what I was doing. I consider myself like saved at that point and wanting to pursue God,
oh,
but I didn't understand how my past was really affected in that time. So my 20s were kind of rough, man. I got involved in the ministry. I became a licensed minister. I spoke at different churches, telling my story, and but getting caught up in all the ministry stuff and not dealing with the heart stuff, I think was probably detrimental. And in my 20s, my dad OD'd from heroin, and I lost my mother to cancer. And I've rebuilt a relationship with them and reestablished like Christ, in their life, and
mhm.
made amends like the 12-step program was telling me to do. And so that the relationships were open and they were very neat. And I had no idea that, I was gonna face the loss one after another. And so my 20s were a little bit navigating some of those dark periods and not really understanding how my past was still affecting me. And so it took me about to my 30s to begin to do some inner work and begin to heal and stuff like that. So, when I tell this story, it's like, whoa, you got saved, and that is so wonderful. And I'm like, it was wonderful, and thank goodness, because I probably would have just ate a bullet in my 20s. I was just straight up, man. Like, so
Yeah.
God got a hold of me during that period and kind of knew the things that I was going to go through in my 20s, and you know that I needed a strong foundation to face those dark moments. So,
Yeah.
uh, yeah,
Well, and it's like I kind of mentioned to you on your podcast, just because you get saved, just because you find Jesus, start this relationship with God does not mean your life's perfect. More times than not. In fact,
yes,
I would say if your relationship's real with God, you're going to have it harder for a while because the enemy, he doesn't want you to have a successful life. He doesn't want you to have a good relationship with God. He's going to throw stuff. So if you're not being attacked, where does your relationship with God actually stand? So what, like I told you before, when I found my new identity, um, well, even before that, just God in general, it was ebb and flow, man. It was up and down, and it got really bad after that before it got better. So,
yeah,
I mean, it's just how it happens. But it's more defining your story. It's more of that process that God hardens you and really
yeah,
shapes you. And so I know, you found your wife, and you had a daughter. And so kind
yeah,
of tell me some of the struggles, the challenges in family life dealing with, this new identity you have, but also still dealing with some of the shame, some of the past trauma
yeah,
and how that unfolded as
sure,
a family man.
yeah. So I'm remarried now, and so I'm gonna go into that dark period when I was in my 20s. And I hate to linger here, but this is just a story, man. It really didn't
Dude,
get better in
tell
my
it.
30s. Like I've been 15 years like outside, just in and really working and rebuilding myself. So you can consider like from 30 on up the rebuilding. And
There you go.
we were both broken, man. I mean, we latched onto each other. We were both traumatized, abused, and we looked at each other and we just grabbed to hold each other like you know. And so as far as being compatible, um, you're talking about two broken people with a history of addiction
Mm.
and who have been abused and traumatized. And so you can imagine how that went. And so we both were into kind of like heavy drinking. And I began to shift and I began to work on myself. And I'm like, I need to get, I need to get on the right track. And that wasn't what she was experiencing or what she wanted to do. And so what ended up happening was she continued to progress in the addiction and get worse and worse. And then I progressed out of the addiction and was getting better and better. And during this time, I'm working in a treatment center, and it was a missional treatment center for the Anglican Church.
Mm.
And so I'm working with traumatized youth, and they're like a mirror to me. Like I'm literally like seeing myself. And so it was so eye opening to see myself in all of these kids and then to look back at my life and know exactly how to encourage and to navigate them, to help them and to encourage them in their difficulties. And I ended up healing myself in the process because there was still a little broken, wounded, crippled little boy that was seeking comfort and all those different things. And as I'm helping these other kids heal, I begin to spot the things in my own life and I begin to kind of heal those up too at the same time. And so, yeah, it was an amazing experience. I did that for 8 years. And during this process, like I said, I've become better and better
Yeah.
and the more healed version of me. At the same time, um, I'm I'm codependent in the sense that I'm navigating somebody else's addiction and I'm hiding the wallet, hiding the car keys, and navigating the trouble from car crashes to court cases to jail and I'm like dealing with all of this stuff and trying to keep my daughter safe at the same time and all this different stuff. And so this whole world that I was in was just like crashing around me. And so yeah, I had to come to a point where I can't do this anymore. And this is not this ain't working. And what happened was I caught some infidelity, and that was pretty much kind of like the breaking point. And so yeah, that dissolved and came to an end. So that is the official end of Tim's breaking.
Well, man, that's it's strong though. Yeah, but it is really powerful to know when you got to let go of something. Um, there's a part in my program that it's a whole week that you spend on who's in your life. You think about who's in your life, and I'm in no way saying, "Hey, dump your friends." You don't have to do that. Maybe you do. You don't have to, but what are your friends? What are the people in your life?
Possibly.
What are they doing to you? Because they're either going to help you or they're probably going to bring you down, one or the other. So evaluation. Socrates says a life unexamined is not worth living,
Mhm.
and I think that is in all areas, especially who you're around, because you're the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with. So what are they doing in your life?
Yes.
And the fact that you can realize
Yeah.
that and make, especially like with your wife, man. So when you share a kid
It was
with,
tough.
I bet it was. But the fact
It was
that
really
you
tough.
were able to make that call and do that, it's powerful, bro. Strength.
Yeah. Yeah. It was tough. It took me a little time to be able to get up the spine and the courage to do it. Um, but yeah, I finally did. And so, I can, from there, what I would like to focus on is kind of solution based stuff, because I look at that point and there on up has been nothing but rebuilding, strength. It's not to say that I still don't have remnants of the past that affect me today. I do. And I still catch myself having limiting beliefs from the past, or not giving myself permission to be successful, or some of these little things that are rooted in the past. But,
Yeah, of course.
one of the key changes that I had was to be brutally honest with myself.
Yeah.
And that had to do with um, where I was at as far as the different areas of my life. So where am I at physically? Where am I at spiritually? Where am I at relationally? And just looking at the different areas of your life and being willing to just face the facts. And I know this from experience that the truth hurts. It does.
Yeah.
And but it is the bitter pill. Because if we are willing to say, well, this is where this marriage is at, and pull our head out of the sand and be honest about where things are, or this is where I'm at in my body, this is what I've been doing, and take that bitter pill. I think that kind of honesty is where is the foundation for the new life that the men want to build. So I
Absolutely.
mean, if you ain't having sex but once a month, or 6 times a year, no judgment. It is what it is, but just like, be honest about it, be willing just to look at the facts, and then to
Yeah.
ask
Well,
yourself, how do you feel about those facts? Are you okay with those facts?
and if you can look at that as a general category as well of, if you're not going to be honest, then what's the point? Because you cannot change who you pretend to be. You
Mm,
have to be real with
amen.
yourself, because if you're not real with your problems, if you're not real with your current situation, how are you ever going to face it in order to change it?
Yeah. Yeah. That's what it
Big
is,
stuff.
man. And I literally think that that is the foundation for any growth, is brutal honesty with yourself.
Yep.
And then, how do you feel about those facts? Because disgust is good. I'll explain a little bit, because if it bothers you enough, and if you get disgusted enough, um, and sit and be honest about those feelings, that disgust has a way to motivate you to
Yep.
action. If you're sick and tired of being out of energy, or being overweight, or you're sick and tired of not having intimacy, or you're sick and tired of, whatever it is, like your
Yeah.
relationship with God. If it's like, I've had enough, I have all I can stand, and I can't stand anymore. It's
Yeah.
time to take some massive action.
Yeah, I always say that there's two different types of motivation primarily. There's positive motivation and then there's negative motivation.
Sure.
So you just described negative. If you're sick of being fat in your t-shirt, well, you don't want to feel that feeling anymore. So that's going to motivate you for change. And then positive motivation, if you see the guy that's, jacked and has the abs at the pool and you're like, man, I want that. And you think about that, that's your positive motivation. Both of them work
Yeah.
well and they're different per person. So
Yes. I love the positive motivation. I think the discuss part is good for, like, decision and energy, but I
Just
think
don't
the
let it turn to
positive
shame.
part, yeah, the positive part, I literally feel that the hope and the expectation that I have the future and the vision that I have for me is literally pulling me to it
Yeah, that's
as
good.
it's my focal point. I literally feel like it's just
Yeah.
like I know I'm going to be in athletic condition. I know I'm going to have abs. Like I'm literally being pulled to it.
And that's what we call visualization therapy is literally one thing that I like to do is good positive words of affirmation and visualizing. You might not be in a certain area right now, but you can imagine it. And you can tell yourself, you can look in the mirror and say, hey, I am wanted. I am thin. I am healthy. I am whatever. Right. And the more that you think about that, it becomes your reality and you start to make changes. You know what I mean?
Yeah. 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 To tie something I read recently and to tie in the spirit of God in this is that whatever we treasure, that's where our heart's going to be. That's the words of Jesus in Matthew there. And what he's trying to get us to understand is whatever has our focal point or whatever we esteem highly, we treasure, we value, it has our focus. And when I see myself, I see the man that God created to be, me to be at the highest potential, and being drawn to that. I treasure, God, complete rule inside of my life, complete, discipline and self-control sort of man. Like when I got a hold of the scripture of the spirit that raised Christ from the dead dwells in you. When I got a hold of that and I started believing that, I'm like, oh my gosh, what excuse do I have now?
Love it.
Like you got all that power at your disposal. Like ain't no excuses, man. We have, the spirit of God and the power
Yeah. If
at
you
our
are a
disposal.
believer, it
Like
says the same power that rose Jesus from the dead lives in you.
same power.
That is powerful, man.
Like
It's
it
powerful.
is. That means we have the capability to be highly disciplined
We
and
do.
full of self-control, and that means we have the ability to love in a greater capacity. Like the ramifications of that verse are pretty extreme.
And the thing is he's already given that to us. He's already given us.
Yes.
It says he didn't give us a spirit of fear, but of love, discipline, sound mind, self-control.
Yeah.
Everything else is from the
Right.
enemy, and it's what the world
Right.
tells you. You believe it, but you can shift that. When you change your perspective, you change your reality. You start putting
Yeah.
scripture on top of that, you're going to be unstoppable.
Amen. Amen. I feel like as Christians, we have the most empowering beliefs on the planet, but I believe that we have the uh, uh, underutilization. I don't think that though we have the most empowering beliefs on the planet, I don't think that that many people actually believe them, or they don't understand the ramifications of those beliefs. Because if that is the case, and I believe it is, and that's what's responsible for the man talking to you today, is some of those empowering beliefs that, man, I could be the most disciplined person on the planet if I want to. I can be the most loving person on the planet if I want to. If that's what I believe, and that's what I'm being drawn to. It's the capabilities are pretty big, and I think
Yeah,
we should recognize those.
absolutely. So today you have a completely different life than what you've been describing. You do some good stuff. Tell me about what you're up to today.
Yeah. So I consider myself um, a Christian mystic, and what people can understand from that is I literally think that you can get divine direction, hear the voice of God from yourself. And I think that you can You can be guided and directed by the voice of God, and he can speak to you through all kinds of different ways, through people, through books, through sermons, through the Bible. Like, I literally think that you could be led by the voice of God. That would be classifying me as kind of a Christian mystic. And I also believe that God is journey, and that he has a quest and a mission and a journey for you to go on. And that journey is going to unfold in different stages of your development. And the best thing that you could do is to understand what stage and where you're at, and begin to seek the equipment that you need for that stage. So be fully equipped for whatever it is that you're going through, because God is not going to give you on a journey without equipment. It is that we're not recognizing that we're actually on a journey, and we're not, understanding where we're at in the journey. And so we're not looking for the equipment that we need inside of the journey. So most of my education, or what I'm pushing out into the world, has to do with journey motifs. So God wants to take you from here to here. What does that look like? One of my recent books is The Journey to I Am. So from identity to fully understanding who you are in Christ. But you started out over here, and that is not really knowing who you are. This is kind of default state of humanity. And then you go into like a breaking down of losing yourself, not understanding, like it seems like the whole world is falling around you. That's just the rebirth. And so God takes men through a journey. And so I feel it is my superpower to define that journey, and show men what it looks like, so they can not be scared and not understand the stage of life that they're in, or not understand that, right now they may be at the tearing down moment. Well, that's not the end of the journey. I know it feels like it's stripping away, and it seems like everything is falling around you, but that deconstruction of your life, or whatever it is, that's all for the rebuilding. That's all
right.
for the next version of you.
That's right.
So that's what I love doing.
Yeah.
Talking about that stuff.
So how do you do that? What do you offer? If somebody wanted to reach out to you, see what you're about, get a hold of your program, what you're doing.
Sure. I don't have any programs or anything like that. I have a Facebook group for businessmen, businessmen of influence. I have a podcast out there with the same name. I have tons of books, on Amazon. And, my main business is to equip men to begin to share their voice. And so, for anybody who is thinking about doing something virtually and wants to create a virtual offer, or coaching, or a business that wants to begin to get on YouTube and get subscribers and build their brand and sort of stuff. That's the business that I'm in. And so, if anybody is of that mindset that they want to put themselves out there on social media and learn some skills, that's the bread and butter. That's what I do for a living. So
Awesome, man. Well, hey, Tim, I really appreciate your time. I appreciate your story. It's really powerful. Everybody is unique. God designs everyone's story differently to fit what they're called to do. And I know that he's called you to do some good stuff, brother. If
thank you,
you
brother.
could, if you could leave us with something, and honestly, from what I've heard today, if you could just talk to somebody who's maybe going through any of what you went through, what would you tell that person?
Yeah, I would say ask yourself this simple question. And it's from the Bible, but it's, whatever things are true, whatever things are lovely. And it goes ahead and gives a lesson. It says to think on these things. And so, I would leave the listeners with this, is that spiritually, we are guided and directed by God on the things that we should think on. And even the first question that we should ask ourselves, is this true? So you look at your past and everything that the world told you, your daddy told you, your mama told you, or that coach that said you were a loser, you're a piece of crap, or the world tells you that you're an addict or a loser, and begin to question that narrative. Is that true? Is that true? And I think that alone will start the journey, because, man, you start asking yourself questions like that and challenging the narrative of the world. Change is on the other side. Transformation happens by mind renewal. You can read that in Romans 12. Don't be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. I'm so glad that God didn't leave us in the dark about transformation. Transformation is by renewing this thing up here. And yeah, is it
That's
true?
right.
We'll go a long way.
That's right, brother. Man, that's great. Thank you so much. Well, Tim, I'll talk to you again, I'm sure. You take care, brother.
Awesome. Thank you, brother.
Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for listening today. I hope you enjoyed today's guest. And I just wanted to say that if this has made you think, if this has sparked something in you, maybe about your purpose or your relationship with God, I just want to encourage you to not let that moment pass. If you're ready to take that next step and connect with me personally, you can reach out to me through my email, which is jason@rebuiltlifecoach.com, or you can go to my website at www.rebuiltlifecoach.com. And if you're serious about building a stronger, faith-driven life, please go check out that program. Thank you for listening, and as always, keep walking in purpose and growing in faith. I'll catch you next time.